Goldman Sachs has downgraded Tesla, and they have a sell on the stock with a price target of between $150 and $200 a share. Elon Musk has responded in a tweet saying, "Let the games begin." The other topic we're covering today is the fact that with all the trade tensions, is Tesla in trouble in China? This and other stories is what we'll be covering today, and I want to thank you for joining us. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Welcome once again. If this is your first time on our channel, please take time to like and subscribe. If you're returning, welcome back. Please note that we're going live and I can see when you guys make comments or questions, but I'm always willing to acknowledge you at the end, but most of my viewers have asked me not to do so. So Jerry and all my other friends very much appreciate your participation, but please understand what we're up to. The next thing I also like to cover is we do have a Patreon link that is Patreon and Tesla Advisor, and I'll put a link on the bottom so you guys can have access to that. The other sort of slight note that I wanted to make before we started was the fact that at this point we're 1,600 subscribers and growing, and a lot of you will make comments about quality of execution, and I just wanted to note to you, thank you for joining us on Patreon, by the way, Jerry. I just wanted to note to you that we definitely want our quality to continue to improve. We're always on it in terms of the quality of the story, and I agree with you about the concerns that have been shared regarding how we execute quality better. And I would say that it's a constant, I think it's a constant argument, and we will definitely be on the improvement run. So moving on into our discussion today, the relationship is interesting. One of the interesting elements of the interaction is the fact that Goldman Sachs is one of the underwriters for Tesla. So they have a Chinese wall between the analysts. So I wanted to note that there's a big issue that's lurking, which is in the case of Goldman Sachs, they have a number of arguments as to why Tesla is a sell currently. The first one is that they were expected to be producing 5,000. Hey Jerry, thank you for the comments. They were expecting to have at least 2,500 cars per week being produced right now. With the 2,000 that was produced a week ago, where Tesla is at about 1,400 a week on average if you go backwards from where they were at the end of the quarter. So Goldman is arguing that in order to service the debt that they have, Tesla is in a situation where they actually need to be producing around 5,000 vehicles a week in order to meet all their debt obligations. And currently, Tesla's saying we're at about 2,000. The other component of this, great idea. Thank you. I will do that. Greetings from London. I just wanted to say hello there as well.
Primarily,
so what I wanted to further cover is the fact that, there's an interesting situation happening, which is that I wanted to sort of, for the next 6 to 8 weeks of presentations, make the last portion of what we cover in general focused on what's happening with the stock price and why. The reason I want to do that is that it's my belief that Tesla's entering a zone where they currently will have a price situation. Great, thank you, Jerry. Wow, I'm still getting poor connection. Tesla's entering a zone where once the production is stabilized, as Goldman is arguing, we'll all of a sudden get into a situation where you actually have the company making plenty of money. And I think what's going to happen. Thanks. Let me try it. We're in bad straits here. So the issue that pops up is that we're in an interesting situation where once Tesla gets its production activity straight, we will be in a situation where you'll have the stock price accelerate for several reasons. Number one is that there's a huge problem that's happening, which is 25% of the stock is currently shorted. So what that means is that as soon as Tesla starts hitting its goals relative to production, all those people that were hoping for the stock price to fall based on Tesla not having enough cash will be out of luck, and they're going to have to do what's called covering. So that means they have to start buying the stock. So I believe that we're in the middle of April right now. I think Tesla will get the bottlenecks figured out in the next 30 to 45 days. Once those numbers are clear, we're going to be in a situation where the stock price will start accelerating, $25 to $50 to $100 a day, or to in $25 to $50 perhaps on a daily basis, as all of the short squeeze activity starts to work out. So I think it's a really important time to take some time to understand what's going on with the stock of Tesla and why. So I'm fascinated right now because if you go back and look through what we've done on our previous shows, there's a huge discussion that we've had going on, and the focus of that discussion is the fact that Tesla has been in a bad position for quite a while on production. And the production issues initially turns out that one of the automated lines, or two of them that they had built with the Gigafactory, weren't working properly when it came to the automated process for building batteries. They solved that issue, and so we're now in a situation where we're all waiting on the automation that's been done in the factory to finally work out, and how that works out determines whether or not they're going to meet their production goals. Now, I have to say that I will say Elon is a little bit crazy, and the reason I say that is that when he announced that he was entering production hell, at that point the factory to build the Model 3s had not been completed yet, but he's promising 6 months or 4 months later to start producing 2,500 cars a week. And so I actually did a piece on this where I concluded that there's no way in the world that they were going to get that number produced, because you have to build the building first, and then you can start running, put in the automation lines and then start running cars through it. And I just thought it was crazy. We're in a circumstance now where the factory is actually built, the lines have been installed, but they're having issues that they're not discussing. So does this mean they may have to rebuild? That's possible. There's a bunch of answers to issues, addressing the issues that they currently have in the manufacturing space. But when you go from somebody announcing that they would produce X number of cars in 4 months and they hadn't built the building yet, to now they actually have a building that they can build out of, I think that we're far and above away from that. I'm expecting within the next 3 weeks for them to announce that they're at 3,000 a month in production, and they're heading for 4,000. I don't know if they'll get to the 5,000 by June that he's promised, but I'm definitely confident of the 3,500 to 4,000 zone. And I believe in terms of, they won't be making a lot of money, but at that run rate, I think they'll be fine. And it's only 1,000 more vehicles a week than we're currently seeing. One could get there by even just putting another line in. So I just don't think it's a big deal, and I think it's a great time to buy the stock. Don't be surprised if you see some dramatic upward moves in the stock as they get these numbers rolling. Now, I just wanted to note that the other part of this show we were going to cover is what's going on with China. One of our computing folks was talking about the Chinese situation and whether the tariffs and all that stuff would affect Tesla. Now, there has been a $300 increase in the amount of the impact of cost on aluminum and steel, which isn't a huge amount for a car that's fairly expensive. The other sort of thing that's popped up is that, I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but about once every other week, it's announced that there's a new Tesla killer that's been announced or a new car that's coming out. And all of that is terrific. China has run into a problem. And the problem is that right now there are companies that didn't build EVs last year that are now building them. Now, when you have companies that show up this quickly, they could be great vehicles, but in general, the Chinese are noted for very rapid products to market, but very low quality. So there's this argument about a threat to Tesla. Tesla's business case agenda is to produce at the max somewhere between 2 and 3 million cars a year. Now, I think the number is about 80 million cars a year are being produced and sold. And let's say in the 30K and up, there are those issues. So bottom line is that Tesla has created a huge market. They opened patents for a reason, which is that they can get their market share and make great money, but at the same time provide technology to others to help grow the number of entities that are putting these out. Right now, China likes Tesla so much that they beg Tesla to come to China. And so I just think this is an interesting problem. The other part about the whole Chinese thing is that, Tesla has gotten the Chinese to give them a 25% tariff and allow them to build in country, where there are other companies that have been forced to have partners in China that copy their technology and then start selling that technology around the world. And Tesla has been good about negotiating a good deal from China. And I think because China needs Tesla more than Tesla needs China, the working relationship is good. And I don't see any problems with the Chinese at all, even with the tariff threats associated with Donald Trump. So, long-winded statement to say, guess what? China is not a problem for Tesla. The Chinese love the product produced by Tesla. They know they have quality problems, and they want the best cars within country. There are a lot of Chinese. There's about 3 to 500 million Chinese that have US dollar type incomes to be able to afford the vehicles produced by Tesla. So it's not an issue at all. Jerry and others had, questions have popped up about the automation working properly. The reason they bought Goldman Engineering was to give them, better automation capabilities in-house. And so if they're experiencing problems, they have everything from fix what's there now to building the whole thing brand new and installing it as options to get everything cleared up. I think it will be dealt with properly. It's just taking longer than everybody expected, including me. But again, I just think that they're way closer to being, done. They're 90% of the way there, not 100%, but I think it'll be taken care of in the next 30 to 45 days. And if you're a careful watcher of Tesla, you'll be able to make a great deal. When it comes to other EV manufacturers, everybody's got the 100-mile, whether it be a truck or a car, down. The problem is when you try to get to 300 to 500 miles, and the fact of the matter is they don't. Another sort of variable that has popped up is that one of the things that nobody's talking about is something that's called battery density. So when Tesla chose Panasonic as a partner, they focused on the #1 battery density company in the world. So what this means is that while a lot of people are putting out cars, one of the disadvantages they're starting with is that they just don't have Tesla's battery density that they're working with. So I'm kind of fascinated because basically Tesla has a competitive advantage in a lot of different ways. And as I shared in my last video, there is no problems when it comes to who's got the best battery in the world and who is producing it. Now, 5 years from now, will things be different? Absolutely. Daimler and others are hoping to just hang in there until they can build up their technology capability or buy it to compete with Tesla. But frankly, they're not there yet. So in general, I wanted to just jump into the point that the target price that Goldman has for Tesla is in the 200 range. Now, Goldman has a number of clients or hedge funds and others that would love to see the stock price fall, and it's part of why we see, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, CNBC, all these entities are against Tesla and hoping the stock price will fall. I just want to say, stay tuned. If you have cash around, keep an eye out, because I think that once we get to 3,000, 3,500 cars a week that are being produced by Tesla, the stock could move explosively to the upside. Now, you could argue there's a 10% chance that they go from producing 2,000 a month down to 1,000, down to 500, down to 0. That's possible. And you could also see the stock price go dramatically down if that occurred. But I just think that they're far enough along now that it's simply closing out some automation activities in order to get to that production level where they make killer amounts of money. So this sort of generally covers the body of what I wanted to talk about today. I saw the questions that you guys were posing relative to automation and does it work or not. The bottom line is that, there's some problems that they're having. 2,000 a week isn't what they've said it's going to be, but I just think that this issue has his attention, and if worse came to worse, they could probably run an extra line of same car, but on the Model X and Model S line and be done with it. So he does have a lot of options on how to address this bottleneck. So I think I'm going to, rather than go longer than necessary, I think I'm going to move to close out, especially since I've answered. Thank you for your visit with us, Jerry. Thanks for the shout out from London. I think you guys are going to see a great vehicle and a great stock that starts to blow up in the process. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Tschüss makut, au revoir, leit rohot, choda hafez. Please note, I just think that there's a lot of folks that are coming up with worst case scenarios that are just not there. They're possible, but I just don't think they're there right now. Please, we could use your help on Patreon. $1 or $2 a month would really make an impact if we could spread it over a number of our viewers so we can upgrade our equipment and do some other sort of move forward activities. Also note that those that are on Patreon, we actually provide notes for our shows 4 or 5 days in advance. So if you're trading or investing, it might be helpful to know what we're going to be covering multiple days before we do so. At any rate, by the way, Jaguar is a great car. I'm looking forward to them coming into the market and show us Tesla. I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla is consulting with them to help them get to market. So wanted to thank you all again for taking time out to join us, and have a great day. And please leave notes in terms of topics you want covered or questions you might have. Our next show, which is on Sunday morning, will more focus on what's going on with the semi trucks right now. And I did see your question regarding the Model Y. I have to admit that they've got so many vehicles that they're producing right now. I'm really hoping that the Model Y is delayed by 6 months to a year, because they've got their hands full between the Roadster, the truck, the semi, finishing out production for the Model 3. I just think they're in a really tough space right now in terms of getting everything done with the capital they have and the management team they have on hand. So yes, Model Y is coming in 2019, but man, I'm just not seeing the factories to produce that thing yet, but I'm hopeful they slow down on the volume of this that they're doing. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Once again, thanks for the visit from London, Jerry, our friends from South Africa, etc. Hope you guys have a great day, and definitely, particularly when we're in studio, quality definitely goes up, different zone than we were in previously. Thanks once again, and look forward to our next conversation.